Good morning. Hello. Thank you for joining us this morning with a real estate talk with Lynaae. And today in our studio we have Lucy Sheffer.
Hello.
With all say your name of your company again.
Yes, my name is Lucy Sheffer with New American Funding.
New American Funding. I'm
Yes.
thinking of All American because that was the first.
Yeah.
When I first got into real estate,
Yeah.
the name of the company in Washington State was All American.
All American. No, we are the New American.
You're New American.
Yes.
And I love the fact that it says new because you know what? It's a new concept. It's a new idea.
Yes.
And I would like you to do is just take a little bit of time with us this morning and explain who you are.
Thank you.
Your background.
Thank
and
you.
give us a little bit of background on New American.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me here today. It's very, very nice of you. I'm really excited to share about New American Funding, an amazing company. In my experience as a loan officer, I feel like I belong to New American Funding for many reasons. We are, barely a new company, 2003, founded by Patty and Rick Arviello. Patty is a Latina. She has been a loan officer for over 30 years. So she built this company for the loan officers, for the originators.
And see, having that background, I always say it's called being in the trenches. That's
Yes.
so important because you do have a different view on what to do for your agents.
Exactly. She knows what we need. She wants us to be successful, and she knows how to give us the tools that we need to be successful.
Well, so tell us a little bit about your background, though. How did you get into real? And I know you used to be a licensed real estate agent.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, many years ago I was a realtor. I worked in San Diego, California. My family of realtors and my brother's a broker in San Diego, and it was a really great experience. But my husband is from the East Coast, so we moved down to the East Coast to where his family was, and I did some real estate back home in the East Coast. But years later, after my kids grew up and now that I'm, more free to pursue my dream, I decided to get back into the business. And this time I decided to be a loan officer for the vision initially was really with my brother, who is a broker, and working together. And I just fell in love with the business. I fell in love again with helping people. I'm a people's person, so I like to interact with people, and I like to just helping them have this dream of owning their own home.
Well, a little bit about my background. I grew up in the foster care system, and someone asked me one day, what's your drive for being in real estate? What's your why?
Yes.
And I've always said, because everyone deserves a home. When you grow up in 15 different foster homes, you kind of get that feeling of not belonging, not having a place of your own. My husband teases me because I leave my shoes all over the house because he says that's my way of marking my home.
Oh, interesting.
So a little humor to be added to that. So so you got back into the real estate industry, but you chose to be a loan officer.
Yes.
That with all the changes that came down from the 2008, 2000. all the way through with the Frank Dodds Act and all that, it really changed how you got paid as a loan officer.
Yes.
And one of the things that we still struggle with is that real estate agents aren't quite up to that, and they think that you as a loan officer can still give a break at closing. And that doesn't happen anymore.
No.
And TRID has actually helped shore that up as well. True?
That is correct, yes. Things have changed. We are regulated in a very, very different way now. I used to run my real estate business along with my lending business back in the day in 2008 when I was able to be the loan originator.
As well.
As well, yes. But my involvement in the process of the lending part of the transaction was not much. I was basically the real estate agent, also helping with having my name as the originator, but not really processing or really working with the client for that transaction. So things have changed, and I think have changed for the best, because really right now it's protecting the consumer. It's really helping people to work with a knowledgeable, licensed loan officer who has gone through an extensive course in licensing and studying to be professional and understand the process. So it's a lot better.
But I also think that what makes a great loan officer is a great processor.
Correct. Oh, yes.
You know, and I started out in the lending industry myself as a processor, so I know that there's a lot of detail work that goes into that. So if you don't have the right processor behind it, it's kind of like having the wife with the husband not behind her, or vice versa.
Yes.
You got to have a team effort there.
Yes, it is a partnership with your team. Yes, you have. It starts with the company. You know, we in my experience so far with the lending business, I have gone through experience in a couple of other companies that I worked previously, and they all have their pros and the cons. But I feel that with New American Funding, I found the company that really fits my personality, my needs as a loan officer. I feel that the company has been built to give us the support that we need to be able to work with our clients, focus our energy and efforts in supporting and helping our clients.
Well, one of the things that you did share with me that I thought was really interesting is that no matter what type of loan program is out there, be it some of the grant programs out there that don't pay agents much, so they're not incentivized to help the homeowner utilize that program. Your owner, your company has said no.
Right.
We want you to do the right thing for that borrower.
Yes.
And in doing that, we're going to make sure that no matter what, you'll be paid the same as if you had done it on another product that paid you the same.
Yes.
And I think that's something that's also a perfect example of someone who's come up through the trenches, I say. And when I say the trenches, I don't really mean that, like, the war where we're in there. But I'm just saying that someone who's experienced the processing and the loan officer process and what it takes for you. You're more than just, I always tell people, we're just more than agents that open the doors. We're actually coordinating and negotiating and
counselors too,
advocating for our clients.
Yes, in many ways, that is correct.
And that's really the lovely thing about this, is that we need to remember that some of the people that we were attracted to, our attractions are because of what we believe in. And I think that's why you and I have, hooked up, as they say.
Yes.
And I'm excited, for what you're doing with me and my new endeavor, working with Forbes Realty Group. I'm just so proud and excited to have you on board as one of our preferred lenders.
Thank you so much. I'm honored, really. I enjoy very much working with you, and I'm looking forward to many years to come and many people that we're going to be able to put in their homes and just hand over those keys and make their dreams come true.
I know. Isn't it great? So we're here today with Real Estate Talk with Lynaae, and we're going to go into a real short break. But thank you for joining us. If you want to call in, our number is 702-483-4444. And again, it's Lynaae with Forbes Realty Group, broker and owner. And I'm here today with Lucy Sheffer of New American, and we'll be back shortly. And good morning, and welcome back to Real Estate Talk with Lynaae. Here in Las Vegas, Nevada, our call-in number is 702-483-4444. And I'm Lynaae with Forbes Realty Group here in Las Vegas. And today our guest is Lucy Sheffer with New American Mortgage or
Funding.
New American Funding. Okay, but it's a mortgage company, and it's people. This is a gal that we talk to when we get a buyer in, and the buyer goes. We ask the first question: have you been pre-qualified? And they go, no. And we go, oh great, let's get Lucy on the line. And Lucy is so caring, and she loves what she does. She's in there with us, helping our clients. But the real thing too is that she also has to help, hire and work with processors that make the loan process smooth. And one of the things I always love to hear is when my clients say, is that all? Is that it? When I hand them the keys, and it's like, you know what? We don't need the drama, right?
Yes.
Too often, the drama is not always the client. Sometimes it's our agents. It's
it's a combination of, could be,
Yeah. I had one that was interesting today that happened that, the lot of drama is just like, it's simple. Just put it a sentence. They wish to cancel. We don't need the explanations, and let's not hurt people's feelings.
Right.
Type of thing.
Yes.
So it's interesting how everybody handles that. So today, let's talk a little bit. When one of the things that we touched on in the beginning is that your company encourages you to gives you, first of all, the ability to touch a lot of different grant programs, and that some of them don't always pay very well to the company, but the company said, you know what, that put aside, we want you to take care of the borrower.
Correct.
So we're going to talk just a little bit about some of the different programs that your company actually supports and allows you to help people get into a home.
Yes, that is one of the advantages that we as loan officers have with New American Funding. We are able to offer the grant programs, the down payment assistance to our clients, to those who qualify. The qualifications are easier than what people think.
I know, I saw that.
And many of them do not know that they do qualify. We want to help people to get into their homes, and we want to offer these programs to them to help them qualify and help them. Some of them may have a little extra money, but they need that extra money for new appliances and the move of their home,
or just making sure that they have the 2 months in the bank when they close. Yes, they have to have a little reserve. And
Yes.
I always tell every client, we don't want to make you house rich and cash poor when we're done with this process. We really want you to be able to, first of all, make your first 2 payments and then have a little cash reserved to take care of the little things that everybody doesn't think about when they walk through the house. Paint the wall, put up a curtain.
It's a big move. It's a big purchase. It's a big decision that someone is making to buy a home, and there's unexpected, expenses that they may have. And having a little cushion is always very helpful, and people appreciate that.
And I encourage
me
it.
as a loan officer, I need to see the scenario. I need to understand the need of the client and see when they really do need the program, and I want to be able to offer it to them and not be limited by my company that says we don't want to really promote this or offer this when I know that the client needs it.
Right.
It would be and not just that, we want people to be well served.
Right.
With our products that we have and we're able to offer. So yes, we do have the down payment assistance. We have the WISH program. We have the Home at Last and the Home is Possible programs. And again, it's something that is available to them. And why not? Why not allow them to have that extra money to be able to purchase their home and not be a burden on their finances?
Right. And I love the attitude that your company has, because recently I did have a client who closed with the Home is Possible.
Yes.
And unfortunately their experience, their takeaway was all the loan officer could do is keep telling them how much they disliked the program.
Oh.
And I was actually hurt because that represented me.
Oh, yeah, no.
And to have them do that,
Yeah.
and I said, it's kind of like this. When I got him on the phone, I said, a lot of people don't understand. They say bad things about, let's just give an example, Bank of America. One of the things that people don't understand with Bank of America is that they have their own products, but then they are also a servicer of other companies' products. And sometimes when they were making decisions on short sales or REOs, it wasn't their decision, it was whoever the lien holder was.
Yes.
And so I told this to the loan officer. I said, my people aren't discerning the difference between you and the program. They're putting it all on you.
Yes.
And so when you talk bad about something, you're actually the representation for that company and yourself. And so you need to take that into account. And quite frankly, I'll never send another piece of business to them because I just felt like my client left had a bad taste in their mouth about lending and about the program, and there was so much that was done for them.
Yeah.
One of the things that sometimes this program has is they've got different plateaus of credit. So, for example, if you have a 640 on the Home is Possible, you can get like 3 points. But if you have a 680, you can get the 5 points.
With a 660, you can go up to 5%. A conventional is 680.
Okay.
Yeah, but with 660, you can have up to a 5% down. Yes.
So this particular client was 3 points off.
Okay.
Would you have been able to help them get that 3 points back?
From the 660
Yeah,
or the
they were at
640?
they were at 657.
Well, you can always see what we can do with their credit and see if there's any room for increasing their score. We can look at that, but then if you have the 640, yes, you can go with the 3%.
Right.
Yes.
But they missed the 5% by 3 points,
By 3
three little points on their credit report. And so, and again, I didn't feel like my loan officer was helping us.
We'll do whatever we're able to do, within our guidelines to qualify that client. We do have guidelines to go by with, the housing and U.S. Bank that does the funding and for this type of loans. But we, as a direct lender, we fund and we serve our own loans also. So we have basically no overlays, and we're able to make decisions on the guidelines of FHA guidelines and conventional guidelines without adding any more guidelines or overlays to that. So we're really in our services in-house. We have our processing, our underwriting, our funding, everything is in-house. So we not only able to be more flexible in how we qualify someone with the guidelines, but we're doing it a lot faster.
So with the Home is Possible, do you guys do the underwriting for them as well, or do you have to use the
No, we
the
do
bank?
our underwriting, yes.
And see, that's where I think we would have had a world of difference if
Yeah.
we had used your company, because that was it actually cost me as the real estate agent to keep these people in the deal to a quarter of my commission, because they did not have the funds. They thought they had that whole 5 and they only got 4, and so we were short.
And they needed 5.
And they needed the 5.
Okay.
So I'm just, one of the things that I talk about, and the reason I was really concerned
Yes.
about that is that I didn't feel like I had a team player. And I do
Right.
feel that I got that with you guys.
Thank you.
And we could have probably gotten an extension if we needed a small fix, just to prevent me from having to take a blow to my pay.
Yeah, and that's been done at the beginning of the transaction, when we structure the transaction and we know what the client needs, and we able to start working on those needs from the beginning. And not
Right.
wait at the end and then decide that, oops, we made a mistake, we need more funds
And that's
to
what
close.
happened.
And then we realize that we don't have those funds, and then we have to, restructure the transaction. So we need to see that from the beginning. What are the needs of the client, of the borrower?
And what can we do to help them, if they needed that little push on?
Yes.
I mean, I'm talking
The score is
57, 58, 59, 60. That's like
know.
3 little
Yeah.
things. And maybe what it would have taken is pay off a credit card, rerun the credit report.
Correct, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We can run a scenario. We can see if there's any room for improvement
Right.
with their score, and we can advise the client if there's any to get him to where he needs to be to receive the benefit.
Right.
If it's 5%, then we know what the score needs to be, so we can do a scenario and find out.
And one
if
of the things too, I felt like I was left out of the process as an agent. You and I have talked.
Yes.
I have a lot of lending background because
Yes.
I was a processor, so it was like I was being left out, so I couldn't actually help advise the client what not to do and what to do, because something happened at one point. They were at a 660.
Yes.
Something happened, and I could never get that from the loan officer. What was it that caused their 3 points, just that 3 little points go down like that cost me to, a point of my own commission to get this done?
That's an initial. I mean, I'm not sure what the details are, but you know that from the very beginning, because you know what their score is. You know what they qualify for. So from the very beginning, we can offer him either the 3% or the 5% based on whatever they're looking to purchase in the funds that they need. So waiting to the end, unless their score dropped for whatever reason, but I'm not sure what happened there.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
And again,
Yes.
I was left out of the communication, so it's just I'd get the phone call at the last hour, and my poor client's like, well, I don't think we're going to be able to buy the house.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Now I've, taken this client. I knew that they were qualified. I knew that they could buy this home. And now we got it done.
As long as we have the client, when we pre-qualify them, we give them a list of do's and don'ts, and they follow those guidelines and they stay put and don't go crazy spending money and increasing their credit, then we're good. And again, it's from the beginning. We structure the transaction, and they know what to expect. And you also, as the agent, know what to expect with the transaction.
And it's funny that you say that, because I always tell them, you're not to open a credit card. You're not to go do another purchase
Right.
until I have
Don't
the
buy a
key.
car.
Until I have the key in your hand.
Yes.
You do not do that, because even up until the day of funding, they can pull your credit.
It's possible, yes. If there's a reason to do that, yes.
So
Yeah.
that's why I forewarn all my clients that way, because
Yes.
I've seen when I was a signing agent, I saw several deals go sideways because people go buy a car.
Yeah, no, that's
few
a
days
big
before
no-no.
closing.
That's a big no-no. Yeah, we qualify them based on their debt and their income. And
Okay, so now let's talk about the Home is Possible, the income. Really, they can buy a lot.
Oh,
if they're
yes.
making
Oh, yeah. This is not for, like,
$95,500.
$95,500.
That's just right under the $100,000
income
mark.
a year. Yes, and they can buy up to $400,000 at home with that, which is a lot of money.
That's a lot of house.
If you calculate the potential help that they're going to be able to receive, it goes up to $20,000 potentially they can receive for this type of benefits.
And that's
grants.
$20,000 dollars of grant money that they do
Don't
not have to pay back.
No, they don't have to pay that back.
That's
No.
real important to know.
Yeah. And this is something that people need to understand. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of the timing right now. The time to buy is now. You have amazing interest rates still.
There is some things though.
Yeah.
You have to be owner occupied.
It has to be owner occupied. It can be. It doesn't have to be a first time owner.
Okay.
But it has to be primary residence. Yes.
Okay, and now is there a time limit? So we're getting grant money, and sometimes some of these grants say, well, you have to live in the property at least 5 years so that you never have to repay it back. Is there any limitations like that on this?
No. We go by the FHA guidelines, and you have to be a primary residence for a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
by the
so
FHA guidelines. Yeah.
Okay, so 12 months they have to at least
Yes.
occupy the property and
Correct.
be their primary
Yes.
home.
If they buy as a primary home, which they have to for this program, they have to stay there for 1 year before they can sell or rent their property.
Okay, then that makes sense. I mean, why we're not giving money to investors?
No,
we're
no.
giving money to
Yeah.
people to
Home-
live
yeah,
in.
homeowners
That's
to
why it's
live in
called
their
Home
home.
as Possible.
Exactly. Yes.
And the
Yes.
WISH program and the other
Yeah.
things. Okay, so we're gonna in our next segment we're gonna talk a little bit about VA and how the Home as Possible Heroes program works. We're gonna touch a little bit on reverse for purchase and reverse refinance, just a little bit, so that people know that we've got a great smorgasbord
Yes.
of services that are
We have
available.
a team of experts with the reverse mortgage that we can really.
I know,
Yes.
and I come from the reverse mortgage
Yes.
industry, and I'm part of a network called Spotlight Senior Services, and I
Yes.
am their real estate expert, and I love getting up and sharing about how we can get seniors into homes without them taking all of their cash to do a
Right.
purchase,
Yes.
and then they can actually I call leverage their money to then sustain their retirement.
Yes.
So this is like one of those tools that people forget, that they always think it's somebody's taking advantage of, and it's actually a leverage tool. So we're gonna get back to this. Lynaae, real estate know-how with Lynaae. I'm Lynaae with Forbes Realty Group, and our call-in number today is 702-483-4444, 702-483-4444, and we'll see you around the next bend. And good morning, and welcome back to Real Estate Know-How with Lynaae. And today in the studio is my guest, Lucy Sheffer with New American Funding. And I got that right finally,
yes,
didn't
New
I?
American Funding.
And I love this company
Yes.
because the more I learn, the more it fits my, I call it my personal love.
Yes.
It's taking care of business and people first before we take care of the money that goes out to those people. But by doing that and doing the things that are right, it all comes back. So I always say it comes back to you tenfold. Do you agree?
We give value first, and then we just don't ask for nothing in return, but it's coming back to us. It always happens.
And it doesn't always have to
every
come
time.
direct, does it?
Exactly. No, but it always does end up coming back to you some way or another.
Yes. I'm a true believer of
Yes.
that. I believe that karma.
Pay it forward.
Yes.
Pay it forward.
It's the boomerang. It'll come back.
Yes.
So be careful what you send
belief.
out.
Yes. I totally agree that.
Yes, and I think that's part of the reason why you and I get along so well, is because when you have a similar philosophy, you're going to attract similar buyers and sellers that we want to work with.
Yes.
I know that when a buyer or seller has discontinued their service with me, I always look at it as a way of, you know what, that's a lawsuit that'll never happen. Because it's the unhappy people that come back and sue you.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
yes.
if they leave you,
Yes.
don't chase them. Don't go after them. It's not worth it.
It's not meant to be. Yeah.
That's right. And
Yeah.
and I'm the same way with my real estate office. I'm looking for agents, but I'm not going to chase an agent down. I want them to come
They
and
will
work
come
with
to you.
me
Yes.
because of my philosophy, because of my work history, because of the way I do my business.
Yes.
And I do it on behalf of the client. I do it on behalf of my buyers and my sellers and even my renters. It's important that everybody feels like they're taken care of. And it's kind of cool to say, yes, and I'm the broker and owner of Forbes Realty. And they're like, ooh, I'm talking to the owner of the company. Woo. And they felt there's an importance that goes with it.
Important. They feel well treated, yes.
Exactly. That even the owner has time to talk to them.
And you have a great personality because business is perfect for you. You are in the right business for your personality, working with people and just you very caring and you come across very genuine. I see that from the first day.
And you know, and that's why I love what we're doing. You and I are working together on doing some Facebook advertising, and we're working together to create a business of energy and synergy that I'm so excited about it, and I love it that our spouses get along too. and you know, as we speak about that, it's really important that when we have a group of people together, that there's this bond that we've created.
It doesn't feel like work. That happens. It doesn't feel like work.
That's why the day is gone by. I'm looking down. I'm working at my computer. Blah 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 blah. And then all of a sudden I look up and it's 7:35. I'm like, oh my gosh, is it that late already?
I know. It feels like fun. I love my business. I love working with people.
I know. I've gotten messages at 9:05 in the evening from you. I know you love your work.
Yes, I don't want to say I'm a workaholic because it's not a bad habit to have. It's something that I enjoy doing, and as I become more immersed into a new American funding and what the company has to offer and all the different possibilities of helping people, I just love it more and more. It's amazing.
And that brings up to a point. You know, I was very excited to be invited to a very important event on Thursday.
Ooh, yes.
What's the address of your new opening?
I don't know the address.
Is it on your card?
Yes.
Okay,
right
so
here.
give your card. We've got your card.
It's a new branch. We are having the grand opening of our new Las Vegas branch, and it's going to be at 8906 Spanish Ridge Avenue, New American Funding. And we're going to have our president and founder, Patty Arvielo. She's coming.
Oh, I want to meet her.
Yes, and she is a Latina. She is an amazing. Her and her husband Rick she's still originating loans because she really wants to understand.
Because she wants to stay in there with you.
Us. Yes.
Well,
amazing.
That makes more sense than anything. I think that personally, as a broker owner, I have always want to be out there. As a matter of fact, I went out and showed properties last weekend.
Yes.
And normally that's something my husband Greg goes and does. He goes and opens all the doors, and I do all the contracts. But you know, every once in a while, we still need to keep ourselves in the business. So I'm going to repeat the address again so that we all know where to go. It's 5 p.m., 5 to 8
on Thursday.
On Thursday, which is March
3rd?
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, 3rd, yes.
March 3rd, and that's going to be 8906 Spanish Ridge Avenue, and it's going to be Suite 201. Is that where you're going to have it all?
Okay. Yeah, you'll see the big sign, New American Funding,
by the way,
floor.
That's a beautiful office.
It is.
And I love your receptionist.
Yes.
And then the reason I know.
We love Cheryl.
The reason I bring this up is because, you know, the receptionist really has a hard job.
Yes,
I'm telling you that people don't understand that person is the first person that people talk to.
She's the face when you walk in, the first face you see.
And sometimes people forget they treat them badly.
I know.
And without respect. And I want you to know that every time I call in and talk to your receptionist, I make sure she knows who she's talking to. And believe it or not, I get things done.
Yeah.
Because, see, she feels important.
Yes, she does.
Because
she's a sweetheart.
is.
Yeah, she's very professional.
And I love this. And I love your photo, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we're going to touch a little bit more on, we're going to talk just a little bit about reverse for purchase.
Go ahead. Yes.
And the reason I bring that up is because, like we were talking in the last segment, a lot of times agents, and I've heard this said, real estate agents have a hard line sometimes and say, oh, that's a bad product. And I always say, bad compared to what? And there's this great big pause.
Okay.
Because there is nothing to compare it to. Because if you compare someone who's in their home or going to purchase a home, first of all, let's just talk about someone who's going to do a reverse mortgage period. And they're already in their home.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they say, wow, it's very expensive. And I always say, compared to what? Because normally the expense of a reverse mortgage is about 4 to 5%, and it's wrapped up into the loan. So it's not cash out of their pocket.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so let's compare that to them moving. And if they were to move, it's going to cost them 7% of whatever their sales price, and that doesn't include the move. Mm-hmm. And that's cash out of their pocket.
Exactly.
And so I say, okay, so that's not a good comparison. Okay, so then let's go to the next comparison. Oh, we're going to get a forward mortgage, and I'm really good at saying forward because I've been in the reverse for so long that I always distinguish the
forward.
two. Now the forward now requires, again, we can wrap our closing fees into the mortgage, but it still requires a monthly payment. And this time, this one even requires at least 2 months of reserves that you can show that you can make that payment. So I'm like, okay, so what makes the reverse mortgage bad? And when you use those two comparisons, there's your cherries, your apples, and your oranges.
There's no apples to apples. You cannot compare.
There's right. And that's why I always say that.
Yeah, and advantages.
I love the pause when I get that. Compared to what?
Yeah, that's just the not being educated about the programs.
And here's the thing that I like to bring to fact is that here we've got the senior who's got all this equity wrapped up in their house, and they can actually pull that out and utilize that money, and it can actually make more money than what they would pay on the interest rate on a reverse mortgage. I see the reverse mortgage statements from my clients, and they're not, none of them are over 3% that they're being charged, because most of the time they're based on LIBOR, and guess what? That LIBOR rate's really low right now.
Yes.
Okay?
That is
and
correct.
I keep myself involved in understanding that market because I want to be an advocate for my loan officers.
Yes.
And I know you appreciate that. Because
You're
I don't
awesome.
take,
Yeah,
I don't quote payments, and I don't quote things, but I go, this is our, and one of the things I think as a educated real estate agent, I think it's important that a real estate agent understand the difference between educating and advising.
Correct, yes.
I'm an educator.
I see that.
Educate my clients. And what I like to do is I like to empower them with giving them the questions to ask someone like you, or my insurance person, or the person who's going to help us write their trust up to do their asset protection. Yes, that's a word.
Yes.
That's very important. But it's all these things that play a part in what we do. So going back to the reverse for purchase. Now, why is a reverse for purchase so great? I have a perfect example. A few years back, I helped an elderly woman who bought a $425,000 house. And the reason she bought such a big house is because she wanted her family in there to take care of her through the end of her days.
Wow.
And so
she
had,
moved in with her family.
She bought the house, and she had them all move in with her.
Yes.
And believe it or not, because of her age at the time, she was 89, she got to buy a house for literally $125,000. Because that's what she had to bring into closing, because you have to have some equity in the property. But I'm like, oh my gosh, so think about it. 425 minus 125, now she has $300,000 of equity that she can utilize. And she was really smart. She had several investment properties, so she rented them out, so she had a stream of income. And again, now she didn't have to sell those houses and lose the stream of income to buy that house. Now, isn't that called leverage?
Yes, it's a perfect situation. Yes.
Okay,
great. Yeah.
And I that's me. That's what I work constantly to educate my own peers.
She would never know that unless you explain to her and educate her.
And you know what my first thing the peers say? They go, "Oh, you're taking advantage of the elderly. You're gonna sell a house for $425,000 and make the commission on $425,000 instead of that $125,000." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
They did not understand.
You did not understand.
No.
I just freed up $300,000 for my client and enabled her to have her family with her. Where do you think in a $125,000 home she's going to fit 7 people?
No.
No, not at all. And she loved it, and she still loves it. Her grandchildren are in the home with her. She gets to see them every day after school and before school. She gets to keep her grandson. Her daughter has passed before her. Still, the bottom line is this. She's got family with her. And we empowered her with that, with the utilization of a perfect product.
Yes.
Because I'm willing to educate myself beyond what my peers will do. And that's the other thing. I want to be known as the agent that thinks outside the box.
Right.
That, you know, constantly go, you know what? I always find it funny.
Some creative mind.
It's got to be creative. But it's like this. I love doing this to my buyers. I've never sold a home.
Yes, I heard that the first time. Is okay. And then you say, okay, but
the home sells itself. And the reason I say that is because I did a radio show recently on the Social Register,
Yes.
and Claire, the owner of Social Register, made a comment when she went out to go find a rental. There was 2 identical houses. One was newer, the one was older. The one that she fell in love with was the older one, and yet the agent tried to talk her into the newer one. I'm like, why would you do that?
Right.
If that it's that, like I say, the house sells itself. This was a perfect example of
Yes.
where an agent needs to step out and step back because it's not their home. They're not living in it. That's not their environment. We have to remember that when we're selling, and I don't like saying selling because it's really not that. We're opening the door to your new home.
Exactly.
We're not selling it to you because I am not going to be able to convince you to buy something that you don't
want
want.
to buy. Yes.
Okay? My job is to open the door, find that home that just
It's
sets
making
it,
that dream possible.
and then making sure I have the right people like you in place to help me facilitate, to negotiate, and advocate on behalf
Yes.
of my client.
Yes. That's one of the things that we also, with New American Funding, we have the communication with our clients, previous clients, present clients, our partners, our agent partners. We are constantly communicating with you through the transaction. So you are informed of every step from the moment it goes to processing to underwriting. When it's approved, you will know what is happening with the transaction. And that really gives you a lot of peace of mind because then you can go back and communicate with your client, as we also do the
And
same.
then haven't you had a client who
Yes.
comes back and says, I don't want to do that, blah, blah, blah. And then the next thing I know, I'm getting a phone call. Lynaae, can you explain to them why they... And you know, sometimes I always
Yes.
compare it to this. It's like the fly hitting the window. Sometimes a client won't hear you say the same thing that I'll say in a different way.
Right.
And I always say it's the creative going over the window, around the window, under the window. Sometimes we need to quit hitting the window the same direction every time because sometimes it's not just that they don't understand, it's hearing it from another professional source that it's not just you. It's
So reinforcing that information for them and then making them make sure that they're reassured that, yes, that is what to expect.
And one of the things I've been doing with my clients that, and I call this from the past in lending experiences, I tell them immediately, I said, and the world has changed. Just know this, if they ask for it, they need it.
They need it. Yes, thank you.
If they ask
Thank
for
you.
it, they need it.
That
And-
is that's one of the most difficult things with, with our clients. Educating them is so key with the process because they know from the beginning. And I sit down with them and I explain, okay, this is what is going to happen right now when I pre-qualify you. Then when you come back with your contract, then this is what's going to happen. This is what I need you to do. And then we're going to get towards the end. We're going to want to need more things from you, perhaps. So you need to be prepared.
But you need to know that it's not
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
And what I work to separate from that is that, there's a few there you got wars and battles. You got to figure out which
Yes.
ones you're going to fight. And there are some that are just not worth the energy.
Right.
If you have that document, please give it to me because I can't close this file because it's a new lender requirement. They're preventing, and then this is in the mind of
Yes.
the government, money laundering, ill-gotten
Right.
funds.
No cash deposits.
Yes, and that's one of the first things I go over
Yes.
when I get a buyer in my
Yes.
hand is, by the way, if you get a refund check or cash, don't put it in. Go to the bank and just cash it. Don't
Right.
deposit it. Because
Right.
if you do, I even had a client who was doing a 20% down conventional loan. He put $156 into his account the day before we were funding, and it had to have a letter of explanation.
Yes.
And no, it was a check.
We see that from the beginning also. We can anticipate a lot of this need, list of what we're going to need from the client.
Yeah.
Towards the end, some explanation of on the credit report, some things with their name or addresses, and we can anticipate
And that's-
those
isn't
and
that
be
funny?
ready ahead of time for our underwriter when they come back and request.
That's a good
those items.
processor.
Yes.
Because I know as a processor, that was the first thing I
Yeah.
always looked at was the credit report. And I'm like going, okay, what are the things that I know that in the past I've been asked for?
Yes.
I'm going to tell that borrower I already need it.
Let's get it done.
I always
Let's
get it done.
Yes.
Okay.
Ahead of time.
And that's where you get that support with me as well. Because
Yes.
I also go and look at the title report of my sellers and go,
Yeah.
oh, by the way, you haven't been paying these. Just know that this is going to be a, subtraction,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
From the bottom line. So whatever I've told you, you got to remember that that's going to change it.
Yes.
Well, we're going to go to our
Okay.
next break, but we're going to, we could talk
Forever.
All right. So, Lynaae, Real Estate Know-How with Lynaae. I'm Lynaae with Forbes Realty Group. Our calling number is 702-483-4444. I'm with Lucy Sheffer of New American Funding. And when we come back around the bend, we're going to talk just a little bit more about the open house, and a little bit, we're going to ask Lucy a few questions about the East Coast. All right, take it from there. And good morning. Welcome back to Real Estate Know-How with Lynaae. And my guest today is Lucy Sheffer with New American Funding. We have been talking about lending. We've been talking about customer service. We've talked about the fact that we're going to have a grand opening at your office on Thursday, March 3rd from 5 to 8 p.m. And that the owner of New American, and say their names again?
Patty Arvielo, Patty and Rick Arvielo.
Arvielo.
Yes, she's a Latina. She's experienced in the loan business for over 30 years.
That's great.
Great company, growing
but she's
very
still
fast.
Involved, and that's also.
Yes.
So, but one of the things that came up during our breaks is that we talked about the fact that you did live on the East Coast, and so just maybe a little touch of what do you find different here than back there? I know, for example, closings back there required attorneys. Here they don't.
Oh, much difference, yes.
And do you think it's easier, harder?
Well, I think when you're able to compare and do it one way and have to do it a different way, it's always difficult at the beginning. When I started my real estate business was in San Diego, and I had my processor, my transaction coordinator, and it was really a smooth process, because basically you just had them do most of the work, and it was, I think I had a really good experience working in San Diego with my real estate business. When I went back to the East Coast and I continued being a real estate agent, everything changed. It was so different. I had to do most of my paperwork. There was no such a thing as transaction coordinators for most of the agents, and that seemed to be the rule for most of the companies down in the East Coast. So much more involved, but it's a different market, and it has a lot of good things too.
It's a lot of old school.
Yes, especially the area where I was. It was different. It was more country. I was not in the city. The population was a lot less.
They're not into the technology?
Yeah, well, back then, that was a few years ago. So back then, we were still just beginning with the internet. And we were still using our maps to go and show properties. We had no GPS. So
I do remember doing that too in 1989 when I always had a map book and I had to renew it every 2 years.
How did we do it? I don't know. Right now
we're
we're impatient with our GPS. Like, come on, GPS. And we're not patient with that before. We had to go with our map.
And communication, it's like now, I'm always shocked when a real estate agent says, I don't use text message. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, you're going to leave me a voicemail that I have to step out and go listen to?
You have to keep up with the times.
I do believe
times have changed. And for you to be successful, you have to understand the new tools, the new technology.
If you're willing to do online banking, why wouldn't you be willing to do DocuSign?
Yes.
And I ran into an agent just recently, and her excuse was the client wanted it that way. But I already knew that the client was already tech savvy, so I'm suspicious that she doesn't know how to use it. To be quite honest with you, because she's been in the industry, and I'm finding with the agents who've been in the industry a long time, they're the ones who are the hardest to.
They remain in the past,
Right, and for me, because I added up to being in the foster care system, I embrace change.
Yes,
I embrace the technology because quite frankly, this particular file where I'm talking about this, my clients are in Washington State. I'm not getting in my car and driving to Washington State to get that wet signature, and I'm not going to make them print out everything to get that wet signature.
We have an application called GoGo LO for a company. So I can actually have my phone and take an application. I put the information, my referral source, my agents, everything is on my application on my phone. And it's so convenient because I can talk to someone and put you right there and send you a link and an email from my phone with a link so you can go and fill out the application at 10:03.
And you know what is amazing? When you leave it to the people who have the information in their head to fill it out, you have less clerical errors, I bet.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's
and the most common clerical errors are social security numbers, birth dates, and phone numbers. And if the person who actually owns that
Yeah,
information,
themselves.
puts that information in. They're not going to misspelled names. My name is notorious for being misspelled
Yes.
all the time. But when I put it in, I don't misspell it.
Right.
You know,
You give them the power to do it themselves, and they appreciate that. People appreciate having
people
that.
like to be empowered.
Yes.
You know, when I was in the signing business, one of the things that I always thought was interesting, when I would walk in and see another signer, they would hold the papers really tight and hand one piece at a time. And me, I just hand the whole package to them and go, okay, sign right there.
Right.
You know,
right.
Relax, let them feel like they're empowered. Because in the end, I still get the document and I still get to check it.
I do also want to be sensitive to clients that are not familiar with the technology.
Yeah.
They're not familiar with
But helping them.
e-signature,
You
so
can
we
drive.
educate them. And sometimes I sit down with them and I walk through the whole process of going into your email, setting up your account, and also doing the e-sign and the disclosures and explain. And it's intimidating because there's a lot of numbers. And
I always tell them that I tell my clients, I said, you know, it's so easy. Even my 94-year-old client can do this. You can do this too. And then what I'll do is I'll walk them through and give them a few little pointers, like on our authentic sign through Galvar. It gives you a choice to, do a password. And I always say, tell them no thanks.
Okay.
Because then that way you don't have
need to worry about the
It's just
password?
between me and you.
Okay.
And then the other one is when you hit complete, there's a little red button. I said, now there's a drop-down menu. Watch for that drop-down menu because it's going to give you a choice to complete or go back and review.
Right.
And if you don't do that, then I can't get the document.
Yeah, for us, we do have a secure account. They have to have a secure account online where they're going to have to go and e-sign with a password.
Well, for you, because
Yes.
you're dealing with Social Security numbers and
Correct.
birthdays, I'm not. All I'm
Yes.
doing is dealing with a contract through your email, and that contract is public record anyway because it's the same contract all of us use, so it's not that big a deal. It's, all we're not putting personal information in there.
Right.
So their Social Security
Right,
numbers, their
yeah.
birth dates, even their emails and phone
Right.
numbers, we can leave out, which I do commonly.
Yeah, we do handle delicate information and very
So
private.
yours is going to be
And,
yours is going to be different. And we want to do that. So that's
Yes.
that tech savvy part of your business that we need to embrace
Right.
because that's the part that protects our clients.
Yes, the regulation protects the client and it's really protecting us as loan officers so that we're able to, teach our clients the process and protect them, their information and
good to
understand the
educate them.
process. Yes,
It's
they
good.
do need to understand the process because it can be confusing for someone who has no idea. It's their first time they're buying a home and they really come in with, their dream. They're just thinking about the house and moving into it, but they don't understand the process of the financing.
Well, I'm just glad
part
that
of
our
that.
part is simpler than
Yes.
yours, so that at least now they're not overwhelmed. Because I always make it sound really, really simple.
Yes.
But again, it's us as agents and loan officers to help our clients embrace technology because it saves time. Time
It
is
does
really
save
the
time,
big, and it's the
yes.
one thing that
You
no
don't
one
wanna
can
do
get back.
You don't want to do the mail and send disclosures in the mail, and then
But
we
you
have
can't
to
get that
wait.
back.
Exactly.
You
It's-
can always get money back. You can, if you lose a little money, you can go back and earn a little more and get it and replace it. But you can't replace time.
And we are moving forward, and people understanding the technology is becoming more, an understanding of what we need to do. So it's not as difficult as a few years ago where we were so new with the internet and people just had no understanding of having to have an email or some other requirements.
So we're going to wrap it up today, and I'm going to share one more time that we're having a grand opening with New American Funding on Thursday, March 3rd from 5 to 8. My name is Lynaae, and you're with us today on the Real Estate Know-How with Lynaae with Forbes Realty Group. My phone number is 702-743-7797, and Lucy's direct number is 702-622-1697. Call us. We're here to serve
Thank
you.
you.
We're here to help you make your dreams come true. And again, we're here to open the door.
Thank you.